Check, check. Right, live na tayo. Wala pang watching.
Mga antayan. Asan yung mga nag-aantay kanina?
Ako kanina may nag-aantay.
Saan ako maglalagay?
Pwede
Saan
sa
mo
YouTube, pwede yan. Meron nang nanonood, meron ng 3.
Ha?
Alright, teka lang ah. Parang scattered yung ano natin yung mga manonood natin kasi nasa 3 channel eh. Okay, so good afternoon Mark, kamusta?
Okay naman. Ayan, at least meron na tayong mga nanonood. We're hoping na yung iba maka-join din dun sa session. Kasi of course, this is something very important, especially for those aspiring designers and art enthusiasts, diba? Today we're going to be learning about forms, patterns, and the psychology of colors.
Yun, mabuti naman at merong nanonood ngayon. So bakit nga ba natin ginagawa to? Ano bang meron?
Yung nga, sabi ko nga, this will be beneficial, di ba? Especially yung forms and patterns. If they want to understand more about the elements of a design or an artwork, it falls into different categories. And 2 of those are forms and patterns and how they can use them on their branding, on their design, and even if they're doing their artwork. And also later on, we will show them sino-sino nga ba yung mga taong gumamit, yung mga artist talaga na gumamit ng forms and patterns, and sino mga companies yung gumagamit nito sa kanila. Sa logo nila, sa branding nila, and sa mga designs nila.
Yun. And also we're doing this because meron tayong art festival, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yan dito si Carmen. Nag-comment na si Carmen. Sino si Maria Divina? Wait. Sino si Maria Divina Zalamea? Si Divine ba yan?
Zalamea?
Oo, meron Divina Zalamea. Hello sa mga nag-comment watching from Singapore daw. Si Regina nanonood na siya. Okay, so sige, we're excited na gawin to today and hopefully after this short session, meron sa inyong, parang magkaroon sila ng medyo, di ba, parang mas structure sa design process nila. Lalo na ngayon, dami natin ginagawang creative work sa community, di ba? So, makakatulong talaga tong session na to.
Oo. Actually, sobrang dami nating sessions ngayon sa alumni is mamayang gabi meron ding another sessions for another project naman, which is The Wait is Over.
Meron ba mamayang gabi? Hindi na ako nakaka-catch up doon.
Kaya, meron. Mga coaches, ayan. So, shout out dun sa mga TWIO participants natin.
Exciting yun. Sige, ready ka na ba? Gusto mo na bang ready ka na ba mag-start?
Yeah, sure. We can start.
Sige. Pero bago tayo mag-start, konting background muna. Ano bang baka sabihin nila, gina-joke lang natin.
Sino ba to?
Ano bang background mo sa design? Introduce mo.
Ayan, sige. So, hi guys, I'm Mark Paul Garcia, batch 82. I have worked with several companies before when it comes to design. I have created promotional materials for companies like Young Living, a group from Young Living Singapore and Philippines, and other artworks. I do also commission works. I do calligraphies and commission works for caricatures. Yan. But my passion is really about art. But also now, dito sa alumni sa ALSE, I'm the design director for Pulse. So, yung mga nakikita nyo na pinapublish namin from Pulse, ginagawa namin yon, yung layout team. And so far, we have done, I believe we have done a great job dun sa pag-showcase ng mga designs namin, di ba? So, later on, if you want to learn more about the design and the process flow, how it works, how we, kung paano kami nagkakaroon ng design thinking, it's better that you listen in. And even after nitong discussion na to, we still have series of alam mo yun, art festival related talks, whereas you can pick up something na magagamit niya sa design process.
Yun.
Art festival related talks, whereas
Tayo kami umulit. Yun, so, ayun, at least alam nila na, hindi kami nagjo-joke dito, no? Meron talaga kaming, meron kaming background. Ako naman, sa ibang mga hindi pa nakakalam, meron akong parang maliit na digital agency in Singapore. So, I do a lot of content creation. So, coming from the layer of strategy and design and execution, yun yung aking background. And I also help, isa ako sa mga volunteers sa community. I also help sa team ni Mark dun sa Pulse. Ano ba? And yung mga nakikita yung mga design natin sa website, sa social media, magkakasama kami gumagawa dun. So ngayon, ipapakilala ko na itong unang speaker natin. Dalawa lang tayo, papakilala natin. So, ito ang ating head ng ating design sa Pulse layout. So, I hope meron kayong matutunan na and lista nyo ang inyong mga question later on at the end of the session. Meron tayo Q&A. So, Mark, go for it.
Sige. Ayan. So, um, sabi ko nga, yung di-discuss namin today ni Robert is about forms and patterns and colors. But for now, I'm going to be discussing two of the elements of a design and art, which is forms and patterns. Okay? First, meron tayong iba-iba kasi. So, ito yung mga di-discuss natin. Meron tayong element of art and design. I will not go into details about it kasi dalawa lang di-discuss natin today. But then again, we're gonna touch up dun sa shapes. Later on, malalaman nyo kung bakit, yung types of shapes. And then yung forms. Importance ng forms in a design. What are patterns? Patterns in the art world and benefits of using patterns and questions. But then again, yung questions will be asked later on after pa mag-speak ni Robert. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so starting with elements of arts and design, meron tayong 8 if I'm not mistaken. Actually, medyo naglalaro yan. It's either 7 or 8 depending on how you use it. But these important elements are being used by every designer. Actually, lahat ng designer ginagamit niya to. Isa to sa mga tools na dapat meron ng bawat designer. Kasi once na mali yung pagkakagawa yung application ng elements, pwede magkamali yung design. Okay? So let's start with color. Ano ba yung color? Color is the result of light reflecting from an object to your eyes, to our eyes. Yung color will be divided into different things actually. Nandiyan yung value, yung tone, yung hue, yung saturation, diba? But again, I'm not gonna dive into it. But it's good to know that this is one of the elements that a designer use. Next one is line. Line is an element defined by a point moving from one point to the next. Okay, pwedeng horizontal, pwedeng pa vertical, pwedeng pa curve. It's very understandable. Nakikita natin yun sa bawat ginagawa natin. Each and everything that we see around us is made out of lines. Whether it be a letter, whether it be an asset sa design, sa tools or sa programs na gamit nyo. Next one is point. Point is very specific. Period siya. Okay? Point. Yung point can be taken in a form of a shape. Okay? Pwede siyang mag-build ng shape. Pwede siyang dotted line pointing to another thing. Okay? Yun ang point. Next is shape. Okay. Shape is very easy to understand. When we were growing up, dun pa lang sa kindergarten days natin, alam na natin kung ano-ano yung mga shapes. Okay? Meron tayong mga shapes na familiar tayo. Nandiyan yung circle, nandiyan yung square, nandiyan yung triangle. Okay, those are shapes. Okay, textures. Textures refer to the physical and visual qualities of a surface. Alam natin yan. Kung makikita niyo yung background ko nitong particular slide na to, meron siyang texture. Meron siyang texture and meron siyang pattern. Di ba? Hindi siya plain na black lang. If you try to imagine and you run your finger through the surface nitong background, you might feel na meron siyang texture, na rough siya and hindi siya smooth. That's what texture is. Okay? Next is space, empty area in a design. So, tinatawag din natin siyang white space. Okay? It doesn't have to be white. What we are referring here is the blank space of a design. It is very important kapag gumagawa kayo ng design na hindi nyo ino-overcrowd yung design nyo. Bakit? Kasi it will feel like yung mga elements nyo doesn't have a chance to breathe. One good practice is that always have a border. So kung halimbawa ito yung ano niya, 'di ba? Ito yung design nyo, make sure na merong imaginary border around it. Kapag nilagay mo siya from edge to edge, it depends but if you put it edge to edge, it will feel that the design is cluttered. Okay, yun ang use ng space. Next is form. Sabi ko nga kanina, if we came from form, from shape, tapos ginawa natin siyang form. Form is basically a shape na ginawa mong three-dimensional. Okay, later on I'm going to define what it is. And next is patterns. Patterns basically is a repeated series of designs, and later i-discuss din natin siya. Okay? So again, for today, we're just gonna focus on forms and patterns. Okay? So starting with shapes. Sabi ko nga, ang shape is any two-dimensional area within recognizable boundaries. So it can help organize and join information on a page. Like for example, dito sa right side, diba natin, nakikita natin na dito, merong shape na rectangular. Ayan. Maski yung photo is rectangular. These are shapes. Why is it important is that it separate one message to another. One text copy to another. Why? Kasi kapag halimbawa yung design niya, especially sa magazine, just try to imagine yung magazine na punong-puno ng text. Hindi siya magandang tignan, number one. Especially sa magazine. Unlike sa book, ang magazine kasi is meant to attract and then to intrigue and then to capture the message dun sa reader. Now, if you are going to put lahat ng text ng buong text lang diyan, mabobore yung tao. Okay? Mabobore yung reader, and ang result nun is hindi nila babasahin yung publication. So, what we normally do sa Pulse is that we separate the message through columns. Normally, we try to limit it to, as much as possible, 2 columns per page. 2 to 3 columns per page, max na yung 3. Why? Because kailangan ma-digest ng reader yung information. Mas madali yung paunti-unti kesa yung full-blown information na ibibigay mo sa kanila. Okay? Yun yung purpose ng shapes. Of course, this is only in application sa publicational magazine, but there are other applications na pwede natin gawin. Everything that we do around us is made out of shapes. Sa drawing, sa arts, especially yung mga complex na drawings, if you try to look at the right side, even if hindi ito yung actual na itsura nila, di ba? You can easily identify which is which. Ito nga, horse hindi naman ganyan yung paa ng horse, but you can easily identify an object because of shapes. Okay? Shapes we normally use in icons, di ba? Kapag halimbawa nagdi-design tayo, yung mga nagdi-design dyan sa Canva, di ba? A simple icon as a circle or a triangle, it can give you something, an information that is easily understandable sa atin. Now, there are 2 types of shapes. One is organic. Okay, sabi dito, shapes typically curvilinear in look, which are much like present in nature, reminiscent of crops, animals, and rocks. So alam mo yung mga pa-curve na shapes, yung mga irregular shapes, yan, those are organic. And the other one is geometric. The one that you see on the right side are geometric shapes, which is normally made out of triangle, circle, square. Okay? So anything na you would feel na man-made will fall into the category of geometric. Why organic is something that you see in nature. Yung may pa-curve siya, hindi perfect yung ano niya, yung measurement niya. Why? Because geometric, by the way, is derived from 2 words. Geo means earth, and metrics, which means measurement, if I'm not mistaken. So it's an exact measurement. That's why it's called geometric. But if you try to put shapes together, marirealize mo na lahat ng complex drawings can be broken down into simpler shapes. Especially when people ask me, ano ba, pinapadrawing ko sila, o ito, i-drawing mo tong dog, ganyan. When I ask them about how to draw it, they will always tell me na parang hirap namang i-drawing nung pinapagawa mo, masyadong complex. One of the trick to do it is that to broken it down into simpler shapes. Anong shape nung tenga, anong shape nung mata, nung head, alam mo yun? Um, Kasi madali yan sa atin kasi tayo, we know how to identify shapes. Yun yung way natin para i-simplify yung isang complex na artwork. Okay? So, kung yun yung shapes, which is 2D and flat, ano naman yung forms? Okay, ito yung topic natin today. When a shape, which is two-dimensional, becomes 3D, we call it a form. Okay? By applying technique like perspective, light, and shadows, designer can create an illusion. Again, this is an illusion of depth, making the object more interesting. Adding a form in a two-dimensional design make realism possible. So ang sabi dito, ang forms daw is a technique. It's an element applied to a two-dimensional shape. Lalagyan mo siya ng light, lalagyan mo siya ng shadow, pwede mo siyang lagyan ng perspective in order for it to be closer to reality. Okay? Okay, next. Okay. Here are some examples of the difference between a shape and a form. Okay, the one that you see on your left is a shape. It's a circle. Okay? Kapag sinabi mong circle, it can be so many things. It can be the sun, it can be a flat object. Diba? May mga coasters natin, pag tinignan mo siya sa ibabaw, is flat siya. Pero circular siya. But it doesn't mean that it's round. Magkaiba yung round dun sa flat na circle, di ba? It can be in a form of a shield. Halimbawa, itong part na to is a shield. Yan, yung part na yan is actually could be a shield. So meron siyang curvature pero hindi natin makita yon kasi wala siyang light, wala siyang shadow, walang defined na depth sa kanya. But if you try to look at the example on the right side here, you can see it as a sphere. Okay? Magkaiba yan. So this is a circle and this is a sphere. A circle is just a circle. But if you try to put a highlight and shadow, even a drop shadow like this, it can turn into something like a ball. It gets you on. So by the use of forms, pwede natin gawing much realistic yung asset na ginagamit natin sa design. Okay? Another example is this. Ayan. Okay? It's not bad, but it looks very synthetic. Nakita niyo yung sa left? Siguro pwede yan sa mga logo, yan. Because it's a perfect symmetry. Okay? Symmetrical siya. Yes, it's good looking, but if you're trying to capture the attention of the audience and then give more interest dun sa artwork mo or dun sa design mo, you could go for form. Okay? If you try to look at the right side, it's much more realistic than the one of the left because of the irregularities ng petals niya, yung highlight ng petals niya, okay? Yung texture, even the texture nitong gitna, nitong circular part niya. Okay? Next example is this. This is a building. But kung titignan mo lang siya on one side, dun sa facade niya, dun sa pinakaharap niya, it's just a square. Diba? It's just a square. Tapos meron siya mga squares in between. Okay? Yan yung basic composition niya. But if you want to make it your artwork or design more realistic, you can apply perspective. Kapag tinignan mo yung right side, you can see here na meron siyang width, tsaka meron siyang height. Okay? Meron din siyang weight. Yun yung talagang basis ng form. Because binibigyan natin ng dimension, ng three-dimensional quality yung isang asset. Okay? Robert, I'm not sure kung... wait lang. Ito pa pala yung isa. Um, Siguro naman it's very self-explanatory na yung right side is much more realistic than the left. And we can all agree, I think, that this design is much better than this. Depende sa usage, of course. If you're going for a logo, you can use this. But I would actually use this because for me, it's much more enticing. Yes, this one is a representation of a cup or a coffee, but it could also be interpreted as a tea. But here, it's representational. Makikita mo yung darkness ng coffee, yung weight ng cup, 'di ba? It's much more pleasing to the eye. Okay. Um Robert, I'm not sure kung makakapag-reply ba sila doon, but I just want to ask sana kung ano yung nanonotice nila dito sa setup design. Remember, kapag gumagawa tayo ng logo, normally ang ginagawa natin is a flat design. But what do you notice dito sa set of logos na to? Robert? Yeah. Meron ba tayong mga questions about, meron ba tayong comments about this?
Wala pa naman. Lagay natin sa sa banner na ano yung question mo? What
Yeah,
do you
kung ano yung
notice?
nanonotice nila dun sa design.
Okay. May nag-comment yata rito.
Hmm.
Wait.
Sige.
Sabi niya 3D.
3D,
Three-dimensional.
Yes. And kung mapapansin nyo, yes, that is very correct. Three-dimensional siya. Kung mapapansin nyo, lahat sila is logo ng kotse. Now, when I was doing the slides, I just noticed this actually. Napansin ko na halos lahat ng logo ng kotse, and mind you, iba-iba yan. Meron dito European car, merong Japanese car, di ba? Iba-iba yan. Pero yung concept ng logo ng mga cars na nandito, yung mga brands, is 3D. Why is that? I believe na gusto nila tong gawin, the way that they did it is like this, is dahil they want to showcase something. Okay? They want to show the people, the customers, silver daw sabi ni Bear Bear. Sino man yan? Yes, they are all silver, correct. Bakit? Bakit silver? Kasi they want to express shininess. Di ba tayo kapag halimbawa meron kang bagong kotse, di ba? Brand new na sasakyan. Ano ba yung unang-una mong titignan, di ba? Yung shininess ng kotse mo, di ba? Yung shininess, yung chrome, because cars are made out of metal and steel, yun yung gusto mong i-showcase, di ba? By showing them the brand, I mean the logo, meron ng branding kagad na okay, ito yung logo ko. Ito yung logo ng kotse gusto kong bilhin. Doon pa lang sa logo, makikita mo na shiny siya. Doon pa lang sa logo, makikita mo na siya very elegant siyang tignan. Okay? Doon pa lang sa logo, makikita mo na yung culture ng car, which is shiny, alam mo yun, very elegant. Yun yung gusto nilang i-portray. If you try to look at other logos, it's not like this. It's flat. Google, Yahoo, Facebook, lahat yan flat yung design. Because to them, it doesn't matter. But for these car companies, this matters. Okay? So maybe if you are trying to showcase something which is related to a shiny object, or sa tingin nyo yung brand nyo is nangangailangan ng perception of depth, pwede nyo gamitin yung form. You try to take advantage of form dun sa design nyo, and it might yield you a better result. Okay? Okay. A simple and otherwise flat design can benefit with the use of form. Try an experiment to see if it will make your composition even more interesting. Nilagay ko dito, it can be powerful tool when used in moderation. Kasi kapag ginamit mo yung form excessively, hindi naman maganda yung design. Parang 3D lahat. Alam mo yun, parang walang balance. Kumbaga, parang pinuno mo lang ng 3D aspect yung design. But if you use it wisely, mag-apply ka lang ng konti dun sa iba, you try to experiment, you will see that's very powerful. Kasi it will apply realism into something. Okay? Okay, so that's yun na yung sa form natin. Robert, before I proceed with the pattern, actually may lang talaga yung presentation ko. Before we proceed with the pattern, do you have anything else to add dun sa form or later na?
Later na.
Later na. Okay.
Tuloy mo na siya. Sige.
Sige. Okay. So kung yun yung form, ano naman yung patterns? Pattern is another element of design which refers to the visual arrangement of elements in a sequence or repetition. Okay? Think of a line of trees, a floral dress, design of a flower, the back and forth sway of an ocean. Patterns are all around us. Though some are more obvious than others. Uh, I just want to say that pattern is not only limited into shapes or forms for that matter. Patterns can be a series of design elements. Okay? It can be through a form of color, alam mo yan, pattern siya ng color all throughout. Pwede siyang patterns of shapes, pwede siyang patterns of fonts. Okay? Everything that you see in a series of a design, of a composition is made out of a pattern. Okay? I know that we are trying to aim for the design here, but I just want to showcase to you sino nga ba yung mga gumagamit ng patterns in the art world. Baka kasi inisip nyo, limited lang siya dun sa design. But actually, sa art ginagamit siya. Okay, meron tayong mga artists dito na i-showcase para sa inyo. Okay, let's start with this. This one was created by MC Escher, Sky and Water 1, June 1938. Okay, MC Escher is a famous, if I'm not mistaken, Austrian artist. Okay, makikita niyo yung design niya is made out of pattern. But ang galing ng pagkakagawa niya dito. You see, yung shadow tsaka yung fish nag-merge sa gitna, di ba? Yung shapes niya is consistent all throughout. And kung makikita mo yung cross in between, ang galing ng pagkakagawa niya. This is a revolutionary movement, si MC Escher. Yung art kasi niya, nung time kasi niya, modern artist siya, pero yung mga gumagawa nung time na yon is parang yung traditional artist, which is yung landscape, yan, yung portrait, but siya, gumawa siya ng something unique. Yung qualities ng works niya is very psychedelic. If you try to look at this, yung sa left side, di ba meron siyang psychedelic quality. Tapos yung mga tao na naglalakad, this is a very famous painting by the way. Yung mga tao naglalakad, di ba? This particular painting cannot exist in a real space. But through his art, he was able to do it. And it's very, very, very good. Sobrang detailed if you try to take a look at it. Sobrang detailed nung paintings niya. Yan. And by the way, si MC Escher is a mathematician. So that's why merong application ng mathematics doon sa sukat lahat. If you try to take a look at it, sukat lahat nung paintings niya. And yeah, ganun yung qualities niya. And on the right side is yung Mobius strip. Mobius strip 2 with ants, by the way, nakalimutan ko yung title. Mobius strips with ants. Mobius strips, by the way, is a one-sided band. Okay, infinite loop. Yan. So if you try to take a look at it carefully, yung loop niya is unending. Hindi siya natatapos. Yun yung tinatawag na Mobius strip. Yun yung mga notable artworks niya. And he uses patterns dun sa lahat ng designs niya. Okay, pare-pareho lang siya. Merong square, merong tulad nito, merong square, merong ants. And all throughout designs, you can see the consistency. Okay, next one is Gustav Klimt. I think Gustav Klimt, if I'm not mistaken, is Dutch artist. And yung influence niya is Japanese art. Yan. Although European siya, yung influence niya naman is Japanese art. Tapos, normally yung paintings niya is about beauty. Yan. Tapos, gumagamit siya ng patterns of squares and other circular shapes. Kung makapansin nyo dito sa side ng head, di ba? May mga circles, tapos may mga squares. If I remember correctly, itong portrait ni Adele Bloch-Bauer wife kasi siya ng isang industrialist. So, kinommission si Gustav Klimt na gawin tong design na to. And if you look at the real painting, gumagamit siya ng texture, si Gustav Klimt. Yung mga gold na nakikita niyo dun sa dress nung portrait is actually not paintings. Some of them are made out of real gold. Gawa siya sa gold na hinahammer down hanggang sa maging parang kasing nipis na siya ng leaf or papel. Tapos, ina-apply siya dito. Ini-etch siya dun sa mga damit. So if you try to take a look, yung real painting is sobrang glamorous, sobrang elegant ng pagkakagawa niya sa paintings niya. And he's really known for usage of patterns. So meron kung makita dyan sa patterns of triangles, maski yung formity ng damit, nung tao, di ba, naka-triangle siya. If you notice, yan. Tapos yung upuan niya, which is soft, di ba, gawa sa yung circular yung pattern niya to indicate na yung softness. Yung background niya, which is yung wall, is merong mga dots to indicate roughness. Ganun siya. Yun lang. Nakaka-amaze lang. Okay. Paul Klee, Dream City, watercolor and oil ng 1921. Makikita mo dito is shades and value yung ginagawa niya. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's only a shade of green and fuchsia, diba? Or salmon color. Yun lang yung ginagawa niya, and shapes. But if you try to take a look at it, makita mo na merong mga bahay, merong mga building, but he is very wise to use his design na even if tong mga part na to, it might be an indication of a moon, pero yung design niya is not contemporary. Diba? Gumagamit siya ng squares and shapes to form his design. Ginagamit niya yung mga patterns para i-showcase yung art niya. Okay? Next. Siyempre, hindi natin pwedeng makalimutan si Vincent van Gogh. This is a very, very famous painting. Yung Starry Night ni Vincent van Gogh. I think there's even a song about it. Ito, ginagamit niya yung pattern. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yung pattern ng star, yung paikot, yan. Yung paswerve ng wind, yan. Yung pattern na yan is very inspirational kasi parang siya lang yung nakaka-capture ng painting whereas it really looks like the star is twinkling. Kaya very, very famous tong painting na to. The star looks like it's twinkling. Yan. And very psychedelic. Kumbaga, very dreamlike yung mga paintings ni Vincent van Gogh. By the way, a little trivia. There was a physicist, Jose Luna Aragon. Yan. Physicist from the University of Mexico. Pinag-aralan nila tong painting ni Vincent van Gogh and they found out na yung pagkakapaint niya ng chaos doon sa mga stars is merong deep mathematical equation yung mga paintings. Ganito daw talaga yung itsura ng turbulence kapag pinag-aralan nila in a scientific manner. Ayan. So, ayan, isa sa mga trademark ni Vincent van Gogh. And also we have to remember that during this time in 1889, Vincent van Gogh was undergoing a mental instability. Sinasabi nila meron siyang lapses in consciousness at that time, meron siyang epilepsy. Kaya yung mga drawing niya, we can call it unorganized chaos. Okay? Meron may pagka-psychedelic, medyo may pagka-dreamlike kasi hindi stable yung utak ni Vincent van Gogh nung ginawa niyang Starry Night. The Starry Night pala. Okay? Next. Piet Mondrian. Piet Mondrian is one of my favorite artists because of the simplicity of his work. I remember my daughter was asking me last night. Kasi nung ginagawa ko tong slide, nakita niya, sabi niya parang, Dad, parang dali-dali lang naman ng drawing. Parang square-square lang, di ba? Tapos sabi ko, anak, alam mo ba kung magkano nabenta yan? If I'm not mistaken, late last year, nabenta yung painting ni Piet Mondrian. Isa sa mga painting niya, one of the series like this. Super simple. But the cost was $50 million. USD to $50 million USD. Why? Sabi niya. Sabi ko kasi anak, sa art world, it's not about the complexity of a drawing or an art. It's about, sometimes it's about the movement. Kasi merong movement na ni-represent si Piet Mondrian. So, sorry, medyo haba lang tayo ng mga 5 minutes, but let me bring you dun sa details ng kung paano nga nag-transform si Piet Mondrian um, to what an artist he is bago siya namatay. Okay? So, let's start here. Ayan. So, ito yung isa sa mga early work na Piet Mondrian. Very contemporary. Okay? He is very good. Actually, he was earning a living nung artist siya. Kasi aside dun sa mga original works niya, ginagaya niya yung mga artworks ng mga masters. Tapos binibenta niya. Okay? Tapos, na-realize niya, parang may kulang. Hindi siya satisfied dun sa work niya. So he traveled to another part in Europe, I'm not sure where. Pero dun siya nakakuha ng inspiration. Okay? Ito yung mga earlier works niya sa taas. Ayan. Makita niyo, ito yung very linear na horizon, di ba? Horizon lang yan. Very simple. Tapos, ito yung isang building. Actually, most of his paintings are made out of windmills. Yung talaga yung drawing siya. Pero hindi ko makita yung iba. But ito yung nakita ko, yung building na yan. Tapos, may kita nyo, ito yung tree. Isa sa mga favorite na drawing ni Piet Mondrian is yung tree. Ayan. So, doon pa lang sa early beginnings ng pagpe-paint niya, nakikita niya na yung pattern, di ba? Merong horizontal, merong pa vertical, or yung cross-section. Ayan. Ito yung mga trees na drawing ni Piet Mondrian. Nag-start siya, sabi ko nga, nag-start siya sa very contemporary drawing. But then again, nakikita niya na yung vertical lines dun sa paintings niya. Next, nag-try siya mag-drawing ng tree. Yan, isa sa mga famous painting na to, tree na to. And then he realized na bakit nga ba natin kailangan gayahin yung nature. Kumbaga, pwede naman na yung simplicity ng drawing is nandyan lang. Meron siyang innate value na pwede nating i-represent through symbolism and forms. And shapes, by the way. Tapos, gumawa siya ng pattern nito. Ayan. Kita niyo yan? Yan yung pangatlong tree na ginawa ni Piet Mondrian. Actually, series yan. Medyo matagal yung process. It took years. But he's pushing the boundaries of his art to something more abstract. Hanggang may strip down siya dun sa pinaka-bare essentials, which is this. Ayan. Sabi niya, ito yung mga later work na niya, but sabi ni Piet Mondrian, let's go back to the first slide, the first example. Sabi ni Piet Mondrian, I want to create art, but then again, I want to create something that is very simple. Na yung very basic essentials and essence nung nature I can put in a canvas. Sabi niya na ganun. So if you try to look at every works of Piet Mondrian, it's only composed of vertical line, of horizontal lines, of the primary colors blue, yellow, and red, with the additional sometimes of gray. Yun lang. Kasi for him, it's a representation. So sabi ko sa anak ko, anak, hindi kailangan na yung art mo is very detailed. As long as it's a representation of something, it can be enough. And if people will recognize yung nagagawa ng artist, kasi actually yung mga works ni Piet Mondrian, he was very influential. The ibang artists try to follow suit dun sa movement niya. Their artwork might not be like this, but then they were able to get the gist of what he's trying to say. Okay, so enough of the art, enough of the history. Siguro tatanong nyo, bakit naman puro naman art, parang wala naman akong application dyan. But of course, there's a benefit to what patterns, yung benefit ng pattern sa design. Okay, merong benefit yan sa mga design na ginagawa natin. Okay, patterns adds a creative flair to a design. Ayan, kasi unless na, ano ba, gumagawa kayo ng design and plain na background lang siya or plain na asset lang siya, hindi siya masyadong interesting. Alam mo yun? But if we try to organize the asset in a very repetitive manner pero organized pa rin siya, it's very good to the eyes. Meron siyang flair, meron something different, meron something new. It's very refreshing. Just like the one on the right side. Okay? Yeah, and it creates a visual intrigue because, of course, if you try to create pattern, it's not very common. Yeah, merong intrigue na nakikreate yung design mo. And intrigue is actually one of the most powerful strategy in branding and marketing. Kasi ito yung first na naghahatak ng customer. Yung may intrigue sila dun sa design. Okay? Creates an interesting background. By the way, this background that I used here is the same one that I used in Pulse issue number 1. Ayan. Pandemic, diba? It's a representation of people during the pandemic. But then again, if you try to take a look at it, maraming element, although halos pare-pareho siya, it works. It works. Diba? Kasi it looks like an organized chaos. So our eyes are automatically drawn into something that is very pleasing. Kahit nagaano ka disorganized yung composition mo, as long as it is following a certain pattern, mare-recognize natin siya and ma-appreciate natin siya. Okay? And lastly, of course, is the unity in a design or a composition. Why? Sabi ko nga, if we try to take a look at sa mga ginagawa namin sa Pulse, yung mga dinidesign namin nila Robert, nila Tessa, at saka nila Grace and Cherry, may kita nyo na lahat yung pages namin is merong element na makikita mo din sa ibang pages. The reason why we're doing that is we don't want to have a separate information. Hindi pwedeng ganito yung arrangement ng page mo tapos pagdating sa isang page is kulay pink, di ba? Kasi hindi siya mako-connect. Kailangan magiging part pa rin siya nung entire composition mo. Okay? So, I think that's it for me. Medyo sumobra ako ng konti. Robert, would you like to take over?
Lagay mo na kita sa backstage, Mark. Thank you for that.
Sige.
Okay, mamaya tayo pupunta sa ating mga questions. Okay, so thank you, Mark, for that very insightful sharing about forms and patterns. I'm quite sure na that added sort of a layer of knowledge when it comes to designing sa ating whatever we're doing. So right now, I'm just gonna jump quickly sa isa pang element ng design na sobrang importante, which is yung ating colors. By the way, kung meron kayong questions, lagay nyo lang sa ating comment section below. Okay, so I'm gonna be talking about color in design. Bakit ba mahalaga ang kulay? Okay, so when you create design work, importante na pinipili natin yung tamang kulay. Importante na alam natin, naintindihan natin ano yung nagiging impact ng mga kulay na pinipili natin sa mga design natin. Okay. So, but very quickly, gusto ko lang banggitin, it's always a conversation ng art versus design. Now, Mark talk a lot about art kanina. Pero for example, in my field, when I work, even when I teach design, titinig ko lagi sa mga students ko, "Sir, anong kaibahan ng art sa design?" Okay, so art, it's a specific expression using a specific medium. Most of the time, wala siyang purpose, You express and then sometimes yung output ng art, minsan nagugustuhan ng maraming tao, minsan hindi. But in a way, art is a work of an artist. So, when you are in a field like myself, yun yung nagiging challenge, Kasi I myself, I am an artist, but I am being paid to be a designer. So, ano ngayon yun? Anong design saka art? Minsan kasi when you're an artist, you are free to do what you like. Mark was discussing about patterns kanina ng mga paintings, mga classic examples natin. So when they were doing those art pieces, they are in their artist zone. Weird, katulad si Van Gogh. I think siya hindi ko alam kung siya yung kinain yung sarili yung tenga, parang ganun, na artist. So, karamihan artist, weird. Pero when you do it as a profession, you don't necessarily, technically you don't have the freedom to work on something that is very, like the core or the heart of your art. For example, ako, I would always have that conversation with client na sasabihin nila, hindi parang hindi siya maganda, hindi siya gano'n. So, okay lang 'yun kasi they're paying, they're paying a project. So sometimes as a designer, what you're doing, madi-discuss ko 'yan mamaya, you are actually solving or creating or solving problems as a designer. So, I just want to bring it out there. Art versus design. Art, you can do it anytime you like. It's your expression. Swerte na if you get paid for your art. A lot of people get paid for their art, but when you design, you're a designer, hindi mo pwedeng i-enforce na artist ako eh. Ako masusunod. Hindi ganun yun, in the design work. Okay, so moving on with our slide here. So, tulad sinabi ko kanina, design is all about solving problem. So before you even jump in the design process, you have to make sure na you know what the problem is. So minsan siguro nagugulat kayo na bakit bigla naging problem solving? Kasi design is a process na creative um with rules, no? Ikaw ay creative na tao, but when you design, you have to abide by the rules. Ay, for example, lagi kong ina-example, nagtuturo ako Apple, Pag nakita mo ang design ng Apple, even the way the product is packaged, makikita nyo na meron siya mga sinasolve na problem para sa atin. And that makes a lot of us willing to pay, the premium amount because of that problem solving na ginawa ng Apple for us. Okay? So, pag inatake mo ang isang problem and you're trying to solve it, that involves a process of design in your mindset. So, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, ay, hindi ako designer, ano ako, engineer ako, accountant ako, ganun. Hindi, once you are involved in a process of solving anything at all, you are considered a designer. Accounting, punta tayo sa accounting, okay? Kung hindi, accounting, a lot of Excel files siya, no? I think. Imagine, pag pinaglalagay mo na siya sa random columns, no? Wala kang design process na iniisip na, dapat nasa kaliwa yung ganitong set of numbers, ay dapat nasa kanan yung ganitong set of numbers, mahirapan ka as an accountant. Pati yung pagbibigyan mo ng iyong mga documents, ng iyong mga computation, mahirapan din sila. So, you're not solving a problem. So, never ever think na hindi ako visual na tao, hindi ako marunong sa kulay, hindi. So, hindi ako designer. No, actually, all of us are designers. I mean, pwede, I can argue with you on that. No? We can take like days. Pero, you don't have to be creative to be a designer. Okay? That's my point. Okay, next. Paano ba nai-impact ng color ang design? So, sinabi ko kanina, design. Dito na tayo sa design that involves color. Okay, first, it can affect perception. Remember, kapag tinignan ng customer or kahit na sino ang tumingin sa ginawa mong design, ang kasunod nun, perception. No? Kaya nga sa client work, minsan may kita mo, hindi ko gusto, hindi ko feel. So, perception ng client yon. So again, as the designer, as the person being paid to do design work, ang role mo is ma-anticipate mo yung perception na yun. And color is one of the things that can help you in the design process para yung perception na yun makontrol mo dun while you are still designing. Okay? Example, it can enhance customer experience. For example, tignan nyo, karamihan ng restaurant na pinupuntahan nyo may pula. Diba? Tama ba? Sige, sabihin nyo sa comment section na hindi, no? Lahat, isipin nyo, lahat ng kinainan mo na restaurant na fast food, may involved na color na pula. Kasi may purpose yung pula in customer experience. May-discuss ko yan in detail mamaya. Okay, next, it can detract the way a food tastes. Sanay ka na, let's say, hotdog. Alam mo yung sausage, di ba? It's either brown, light brown, o kaya pula siya. Pero, pag nakita ka ng hotdog na green, nakakainin mo ba yung hotdog na green? Sabihin natin, hotdog pa rin yun. Lasa hotdog pa rin yun. Pero nakita mo yung hotdog kulay green, di ba? Siyempre, ma-off ka ng konti doon, di ba? So, yun yung point ng paano kinokontrol ng color or paano i-impact ng color ang design. Okay, sige, let's talk about perception. Um, I don't want to take much of your time and I hope meron kayong mga questions later, no? So talking about perceptions, I'm monitoring the comments. Okay, for example, ito. Ay, kulay tayo, kulay ang ating topic. Nakita mo yan? Namimiss nyo na ba yan? Kailan ba kayo huli nagdala ng maleta? Matagal na nabubulok yung mga maleta natin. No? So nakikita nyo yan, green yung luggage. It makes sense, di ba? Okay lang na yung luggage green. Kasi pwede, di ba? Pwedeng green ang luggage. Pero imagine mo isusunod na picture. Imagine mo nakita ka ng burger na green. Yeah. Sagot kayo sa comment. Anong may isip niyo pag green yung burger? Diba? Ano yan? Vegetarian burger pa din yan? Pwede, pero yung tinapay kulay green na ganyan. Sobrang off yung kulay niyan. So nakikita nyo, no, simpleng change of color lang. Sa luggage, okay tayo sa green. Pero hindi dapat green ang burger. May impact na yung ano mo, kunyari gutom na gutom ka tapos bibigyan ka ng burger na green, hindi mo kakainin yan. Ewan ko lang meron ba sa inyo kakain ng burger na green? Sagot lang kayo. Okay? Hindi nyo kakainin ng burger na green. Okay? Susunod. Ito, sadly, no, ang dami natin nakikita ngayon sa Facebook na ganito. So, alam agad natin, yung kulay nito. Alam nyo agad, naisip nyo agad. So, it's probably someone died, or someone is mourning, someone is, sad. So, this denotes sadness pag nakita mo yung ganito image. Pero, same candle same candle. Kasi I'm discussing colors Same candle nilagay ko ngayon sa bright color. So this can be something that's event related. This can be, a ceremony, feast. No? Pero hindi na siya yung related dun sa kung ano naisip natin pag itim siya. Okay? Malinaw yun? Okay, iba na siya, di ba? Ang next natin example, pusang itim. Usually, tayong mga Pilipino, pag nakita ka ng pusang itim, malas yan, di ba? Yan agad yung naisip mo, malas yung pusang itim. Meron tayong perception sa itim na pusa. Pero pag ang pusa ay orange, pwede siya maging pet, cute ng pusa, orange siya. Ay, perception ulit yon. So, kina-cover ko ngayon perception because of colors, no? Susunod, mga dental clinic, for example, this is an example of a logo with a slogan. So typically, light blue, okay siya sa dental clinic. No? Makikita natin yan kasi blue related yan sa corporate colors. Sa business, nakikita natin yung blue. Pero, pag ginawa mo ng pula yung nakikita na kayo ng dental clinic na pula. Wala, di ba? Kasi may ibig sabihin ng pula, madidiscuss natin yan mamaya. So, nakikita niyo kung paano simpleng change of color, same elements. We have the same elements, pero binago lang natin yung color. Nakita nyo, ano naging impact? Ang laki ng impact, di ba? Nagbago siya bigla. Eto, familiar tayo dito. Traffic light. Yung red, stop. Yung yellow, ano ba yellow? Parang standby, yun ba yun? Yung green, go. Imagine mo, pag yung red, naging blue. Anong gagawin mo ngayon? Blue na, blue light na. Andar ba ako, tatawid ba ako, bubaba ako ang sakyan ko, lilipad ako. So, hindi natin alam yun. So, nababago ang ating perception because nagbago yung kulay. Hospital, usually ganito ang kulay ng hospital na may sakit ka or may dadaling ka sa hospital na kailangang operahan, isusugod mo sa hospital. Yan yung in-expect mong kulay sa hospital. Tama ba? Yan yung makikita mo. Pero, pag ihahatid ka sa hospital na ganito yung kulay, nag-iisip ka, ano yan, factory ba ng candy yan? Baka nagkamali kayo. Gagaling ba ako dyan sa loob ng building na yan? Ayoko, wag mo kong dadalhin dyan, natatakot. Yun yung sinasabi kong perception sa color. Diba? Same building yan, tinan niya. Same building yan. Pero binago natin yung kulay. Mag-aalanganin ka na ngayon pumasok. So lahat ng elements ng perception when it comes to color. Susunod, ayun, ang daming online shopping, ang dami nating mga tawag nito, binibili na kung ano-ano, di ba? So pag nakita mo, usually ganyan ang itsura ng sale, di ba? Pula. Bold letters, pula. Tapos, yan, nakalagay, 24-hour sale. Pero, imagine mo, makita ka ng sale na ganito. Hindi mo yan masyadong mapapansin. Kasi yung mata natin, pag pumunta ka sa shopping cart sa Lazada or kahit saan ka bumibili, yung mata natin sanay sa red pagdating sa sale. So, weird pag bigla mo nakita na green. Mag-iiba yung iyong perception. Lastly, last example ko, ayan, puso, di ba? Pag pinasuan ko na, pula, usually pula. Heart is associated sa kulay because it's an emotion na involve ang yung love, ano pa ba, caring, pula talaga. Pero same heart binago ang kulay, ang black. Iba na 'yan. Hindi mo na puwedeng i-insist na ang message ko pa rin diyan ay love, ang message ko pa rin diyan ay caring. So nakikita niyo, 'yun yung role ng colors when it comes to changing the perception. So when you are doing design work, sobrang halaga na tama yung kulay. Hindi ka lang basta pipili you don't just, pick random colors kasi favorite ko yung pink. So kung tatayo ako ng burger na restaurant, fast food, kasi favorite ko yung pink, lahat ng pagkain dun pink. Bahala ka, 'di ba? Pag gusto mong gawin 'yon na lahat ng pagkain mo ay at ng pagkain mo pink, wala namang masama doon. Pero yung be prepared, kakain ba yung tao doon kasi favorite color mo pink. So be careful of that. Yung pagpili ng color. Hello, Danny. Nasa comment section na natin si Danny. Okay. Next. High-level graphic design relies on the ability to select the right color that works with the brand and company's mission. Graphic design is a branch of design. So, ang aking dinidiscuss ngayon related in all aspects of design. Ngayon, I'm gonna talk about graphic design. So, when you are commissioned or someone is paying you, good amount of money to do graphic design work, um, ang una mong isa sa mga major concern mo, okay, for example, I'm working on a project with Singtel right now. So the first thing that I ask, Singtel, can you give me your corporate colors? Kasi ayokong biglang lagyan ng green, I'm designing something for Singtel as my green. Ang green ay Star Hub, tama ba Ang green ay Star Hub. Ano bang kulay ng M1? Pula yata ang M1, I don't know. Pero I'm working on Singtel, so I need the colors of Singtel. So the first process of my design work with a project for Singtel, ni-review ko lahat ng kulay nila. So tinignan ko. So pula yung kanilang pinaka main color. Tapos meron silang mga parang light gray, dark blue, green na kulay. So inaalam ko yon para saan yon, bakit nila naisip yon. So minsan, when you're doing graphic design work, it's easier pag establish yung brand guides ng inyong client. Pero pag ikaw pala, magsisimula ka pa lang, medyo challenging. Lalo na pag hindi ka sanay sa area na to. Okay? If design is all about solving problems, yung pipiliin mo na kulay, it should trigger the right response. No? Again, balik tayo doon. Usually, lahat ng restaurant may pula. Kasi ang pula, may tinitrigger sa taste buds ng tao. Kaya, a lot of restaurants, a lot of food-related business, gumagamit ng kulay na pula. Okay? Ito mahalaga. Pinag-usapan namin ni Mark to sa backstage kanina. Graphic design, i-anticipate mo rin yung cultural differences. So, when you are assigned, binigyan ka ng assignment na mag-design ka, kasi yung design mo, alam mo na dadalhin sa China, for example. Ngayon, makikita mo ngayon dito, ang dilaw, para sa atin, bright at saka cheerful ang yellow, di ba? Pero pag ginamit mo sa China ang yellow, associated ang yellow sa mga vulgar things sa China. So, when you're doing design work, kailangan alam mo din, ano ba yung culture na magko-consume nitong design ko? Dadalhin mo itong design ko sa China ba yung client ko? Diba? Baka feeling mo, dahil alam mo na yan ng dilaw, gagamitin ko na lang yung dilaw. So, nakikita nyo, kasama sa aspeto ng kulay ay merong iba't ibang kultura ang bawat tao. So, meron silang iba't ibang interpretasyon kung ano yung kulay na yon. Isa pang example, yung puti, in general, sa ating lahat, white is all about purity. In general, sa lahat ng countries. Yun yung white. Pero, sa Japan, India, tsaka Korea, ang puti, morning. Pag hindi morning na umaga, morning, pag namatayan sila, puti ang kulay na ginagamit nila. So, mahalagang makita natin yan. So, anong kulay pala yung dapat mong gawin? Okay, so, punta na tayo sa mga practical na dapat nyong gawin. So, ngayon na alam nyo na yung meron palang impact yung kulay, no? Isa-isayin natin. Ano yung mga colors na dapat nyong gamitin. Yan. Pag pula, ang positive associations ng pula, ibig sabihin yan, associated siya sa strength, passion, excitement, love, confidence, familiar na tayo dyan. No? Ang negative associations naman ng red, danger, anger, violence, fire warfare. Diba? So may mga movie na red, masyadong red yung design nila. Alam mo na agad, di ba? Uy, may danger dyan. May violence na mangyayari dyan. In common design application ng red, ginagamit ang bright as an accent color, tas in combination with gray and white for a professional, elegant look. Ang orange naman, positive association ng orange, excitement, energy. Yan, nakikita niyo sa screen. So, kung kailangan nyo ng kopya nito, i-share namin sa inyo pag nag-explore kayo ng inyong mga design projects. So, yan yung mga associated na emotion or perception sa kulay. Okay? Walang negative associations ng orange daw. Hindi mo raw ito pwedeng i-connect sa anything that's negative. Okay. And common design, use food and drink. Gumagamit sila ng ng orange kasi it simulates appetite. Okay. Yellow, yun nga, sabi ko kanina, warm, cheerful, happiness, hope. Pero ang yellow pala ay na-associate din sa anger. Okay? And then, kung ang ginagawa mo, let's say, ay design related sa mga services involving children, non-profit organizations, dapat ka daw gumagamit ng yellow. And then, darker yellow, antique. Alam niyo na kung yung antique, di ba? So, parang classic na siya, matanda na, or vintage, ganun. Okay? Kasi daw, it gives a feeling of long-lasting appeal and permanence. Ang green naman, familiar na tayo dito, nature, growth, health. Kaya nakita niyo yung ating TWIO, green ang ginamit na main color doon ni Mark kasi it's associated with health. Okay? Ang negative na associations ng green, jealousy, envy, greed, lack of experience. Pero in my experience, when I'm doing movie storytelling, visuals with videos, yun mahalaga yung negative association kasi you are evoking a deeper emotion dun sa mga nanonood. So, dun ko nagagamit yung negative associations ng color. Pero graphic design, not much. Okay? So, common designs nagagamit to sa, yun nga, nature, renewal, stability, wealth. No? So, mga Bitcoin, mga insurance, makikita nyo green ang gamit ng mga yan. Okay? Next, blue. Okay, ibig daw sabihin ng blue, authority, calming, masculine, so peaceful, di ba? Usually, pag gumagamit tayo ng blue na color, it's associated with being peaceful. Pero associated din daw ang blue sa sadness, depression, vulgarity, and adult themes. Ano man yung adult themes na yun? Yun na yun. Okay. Tapos, sa design, ginagamit siya sa mga baby, young children's products. So, light blue, calming and relaxing effects. Kaya, karamihan ng corporate colors, makikita nyo light blue. Okay, ito meron akong sabihin sa inyo, baka di nyo napapansin. Minsan, tumayo kayo sa raffles sa MRT sa mga nakatira sa Singapore. Tumakay sa raffles sa MRT, bilangan nyo yung kulay ng polo ng mga taong dumadaan doon. No? Kung hindi light blue, dark blue, o kaya blue. Yun lang yung mga suot ng tao doon. Mabibilang mo pa nga sa daliri yung nagpuputi. Kaya gusto mo mag-stand out, isa sa binabasa ko na libro, si Zach Miller, yung ano ba yung book na yun? Anomaly, isa sa ginagawa niya raw para mag-stand out. Pag pupunta siya sa mga corporate meeting, naka-t-shirt lang siya ng black o kaya ng dark gray. So, stand out siya. So, mahalaga din pala yun. Okay? So, yun pa, refreshing. energizing feel. So, kung nag-explore kayo ng design, bigyan namin sa inyo itong slide na to, baka makatulong paggagawa kayo ng logo, yung sa mga gusto na mag-jump sa business, makakatulong to. Purple. Okay, magical daw ang purple. No? Creative, mysterious. Hindi to hindi to horoscope yung uh, ang lucky color mo ngayon ay hindi yan This is actually, there's a psychology sa color. Ito yung sinishare namin sa inyo ngayon. Ay royalty, romance, military honor. Okay? Ginagamit daw to sa beauty. Nakita nyo, di ba? Napansin nyo yan? Karamihan ng mga makeup brands may purple, di ba? Kasi nga, ginagamit siya in designing something that's related to beauty and romance. Yun pala yan, no? No, alam niyo na bakit karamihan ng mga makeup Sephora may touch of purple din yun Hindi ako nagkakamali. Pero yun, alam niyo na yun. Okay? Punta tayo din sa mga neutral colors. Ang white, familiar na tayo sa white. Cleanliness, bridal innocence, yun, virginity, healthcare, purity, goodness, and peace. Familiar na tayo dyan sa mga faith-related na mga design. Makikita niyo meron siyang puti. Pero pwede rin palang magkaroon ng negative association sa white. So, parang matabang, boring, dull, uninspiring. Yan, connected daw yan. Pero, pagdating sa design, kung nakikita niyo, ang design ko, katulad ng PowerPoint ko ngayon, bright or almost white yung background, nag-stand out yung text. Walang masyadong distraction sa design. And yun, just using this photo nitong young lady na ito, nakaturo siyang ganun. Kasi, hindi ko sa mga ganyang style ng photography. Okay? Black. Ang black naman, magic. Halloween. Elegance, formality. Okay, so usually yan formality talaga black, nakikita natin yan. Pero aware din tayo, negative associations nito, death, evil, di ba? Kaya si kamatayan, di ba? Lahat ng alam natin na drawing ni kamatayan lang. May nakita naman yung kamatayan naka-stripe. Wala, di ba? Lahat sila black. Lahat ng drawing ni kamatayan itim. Okay. Bad luck daw, tsaka occult. Yung occult, yung mga naniniwala sa mga witchcraft, gano'n. Nakita na ba kayong witch na nakadilaw? Wala, di ba? Lahat black. Ay, sa common design uses, edgy, mysterious, or elegant feel. Okay? Ang gray naman, ano daw siya, professional, formal, at saka sophisticated. Okay? Negative associations niya, depressing din siya, dull siya, at saka moody. So, kung pipili kayo ng mga kulay ng logo nyo, wag na wag yung gagamitin ng gray. Yun ang ibig sabihin nito. Pero pwede nyo siyang gamitin sa typography at saka background. Sobrang solid ng gray sa background. When I'm doing presentations for clients, I would usually use either black, white, or gray na background. Okay, so next, meron tayong na-miss na kulay, yung magaling-galing yung PIP. Okay, brown, beige, tsaka cream. Ito yung mga hindi warm, hindi rin siya cool. Nasa gitna siya. Okay, so down to earth daw yun. Okay. Tatayuan ng company, logo mo brown. Kasi down to earth ako pwede yun. Okay. Warm, family, dependability, steadfastness, comfortable, and reliable. Ito mga to ay, again psychology of color to. Hindi ko to inimbento. We can share the resources para makita nyo to. Negative naman, madumi daw ang brown at saka beige. Sabi, associations na negative. Usually, ginagamit din to sa backgrounds, especially yung mga wood and stone looks. Minsan ginagamit siyang substitute for black typography or background. So, yun yung ating design, role ng design sa color. Okay? So, ngayon, I'm gonna bring Mark in so we can entertain any questions that you may have. So, andito na ba si Mark? Si Mark. Ayun, baka meron kayong mga questions. Wala nag-type ng question. Okay, baka may mga questions kayo. Ikaw, Mark, may questions ka ba sa color? Ako, baka may question ako sa pattern.
Hindi. Tayo na nagtanungan eh. No? Ay, baka mamaya kasi tanong nila yung significance ng color kapag halimbawang gold naman daw or metallic. I just want to add na yung gold is yung very sparingly nyo dapat gamitin yung mga metal colors, by the way. Hindi siya palaging ginagamit. But it can add intricacy dun sa design, but not always. Ano mga questions kayo dyan? Pwede nyo lang itanong. Either sa art or sa design.
Yung form pattern, art,
Form.
tsaka
Form pattern.
design. Si Mark kasi medyo inclined to sa mga arts. Marami kasi siyang pambili ng mga $50 million na painting.
Sino ko si Crisandro?
Okay, isa sa hindi natin nabanggit, pero kasi ibang ibang art form na yon. Yung patterns, naalala ko nung pinapakita mo yung patterns kanina, mostly sa skin art. Kasi may student ako na magaling na tattoo artist. Student ko dati ng Photoshop. Sa Pilipinas, meron na siyang sariling tattoo shop ngayon. Yun ang napapansin ko pagdating sa skin art, mostly talaga. Kahit sabi mo mag-drawing siya ng muka, laging it's all about pattern. Kasi tinanong ko yung student ko dati, bakit parang sabi ko halos lahat ng mga tattoos na ginagawa may pattern? Kasi daw, unlike a flat canvas, so yun daw, kasi yung skin daw ng tao is always moving. So it's adding a specific parang dimension dun sa tattoo na inakabit sa katawan ng tao. Kaya sabi niya, mahalaga yung pattern para magbigay pa rin daw ng stability dun sa design. Daming alam, no? Ng mga designer. Ang daming
Yeah. And
daming
isa pa pala sa mga
explanation.
ginagamitan ng patterns is yung mandala art. Alam niyo ba yan?
Yeah.
Yung para sa mga flowers na pabilog. Yan. It's made out of patterns.
Related sa New
One-
Age yun eh.
Yeah. One thing lang that you have to remember when you are doing patterns, pwede mo siyang gawin, pero you have to identify kung saan mo siya gagamitin. One example is that kapag halimbawa gumagawa ka ng logo, kapag gumagawa kasi ng pattern sa logo, medyo maliit yung logo. Okay? Kapag halimbawang pag normal size siya, okay siya tignan. Pero pag you have to remember na kapag i-scale down mo yung logo, nilagay siya sa business card, nilagay siya sa products nyo, mawawala yung details. Okay?
Yep.
Kasi normally yung patterns kasi is very detailed eh. Yun, kapag shrink down mo siya, mawala yung details tapos hindi magiging maganda yung logo. So, just be careful.
Ako naalala ko kanina yung binanggit mong mathematical inspiration behind Vincent Van Gogh. Na-remind lang ako na nag-aaral kami ng engineering. Nabanggit din yan sa class namin. Actually, yun yung Fibonacci series tawag doon. Yung mathematical computation
Equation
na
of
yun na
Fibonacci. Yeah.
pinagbasehan or related doon, associated doon sa gawa ni Vincent Van Gogh na yun. Pero sikat na sikat yung painting na yan because of the song. Sabi mo kanina, Starry Night. Imbis na Starry Night. So si Don McLean, kanta ni Don McLean yan naging related doon sa painting.
Yeah.
Sa painting.
Yung mga paintings niya ganun ang form. Very heavy siya sa light and shadow, pero in a form of striking ng paint doon sa canvas. So pag nakita mo para siyang wave, nagfo-flow siya. So sabi ko nga, ang talagang nakaka-capture din sa Starry Night is yung star na para siyang nagmo-move kasi nga dun sa pagkakadrawing niya dun sa star.
Sige, wala tayong mga questions eh. Mag-invite na lang tayo sa ating virtual exhibit. Ikaw mag-invite, Mark, sa ating
Ayan, sige.
virtual exhibit.
So mga hindi pa nakaka-submit, you still have time. Sabi ko,
meron na tayong submission. Baka kala nila wala nagsasubmit ha. Meron. Almost 30 na yung ating submission ngayon.
Ayan, talaga. Ayan. Mga kamag-anak namin ni Robert yung pinag-submit. Hindi. Ayan, so probably this is a great opportunity to invite people, especially in our community, to patronize yung ating yung art festival. Pwede kayo mag-submit ng mga artworks nyo. Ano yan, nakapost. Anong color combination mo? Sige, sagutin mo muna si Sir.
Sige, tuloy mo muna yung sabi mo.
Sir, sige. So, yan. This is open hindi lang sa Singapore, hindi lang sa kundi also sa mga alumni. Sir Erwin, since nag-comment ka rin lang, pwede kang mag-submit ng mga artworks mo. Tsaka sila Margaret, pwede kang mag-submit ng mga artworks nyo. And it's gonna be showcased in a virtual space doon sa ating virtual gallery. Wherein when you log in, ipopost namin yan. May mga nagtatanong na about our gallery. But when you log in doon sa gallery, talagang para kayo naglalakad sa gallery tapos na-view nyo siya in a normal exhibit. So it's very good. So yeah, we'll just watch out for that.
Okay, sa may tanong si Doc Erwin, kung gagawa ka ng post sa Facebook, anong color combination, anong maganda given na blue ang FB? So, ang FB, okay, although may blue ang FB, pero when you look at Facebook, the experience, isa sa mga reason bakit tinalo ng Facebook ang Friendster. Ngayon, naalala niyo ba ang Friendster? Yung panahon na nanghihingi tayo ng testimony nung araw. Okay. So, kaya tinalo ng Facebook ang Friendster because of the consistency dun sa experience. Hello, Apple. Sabi niya, thank you. Ang galing. Sabi niya. Si Mark, magaling si Mark. Okay. So, yung consistency na experience na kung naalala niyo ang Friendster dati, napapalitan mo yung skin. Naalala niyo ba yun, Mark? Nung may Friendster ka, napapalitan yung skin. So, mayroong mga testimony na may mga glitters pa doon, di ba? May mga GIF pa. So, technically, ang gulo-gulo-gulo ng itsura ng Friendster noon. Kasi ang ginawa ng Friendster, binigay lahat ng control sa user kung anong itsura. So, eventually, nung lumabas yung Facebook, kulay blue bar lang siya sa top. Yun lang. Tapos na, wala nang ibang ginawa. May blue bar lang sa top. Tapos kahit saan ka pumunta sa Facebook, iisa yung itsura. So, hindi ka maliligaw, hindi ka mawawala. So, yun yung ginawa ng Facebook kaya siya nag-succeed as a social media channel na nag-top talaga siya. So, when it comes to color, you should look at Facebook. Facebook, technically, is a canvas. So, pag tinignan mo ang Facebook, medyo vague yun kasi magde-design ka doon sa canvas na yan. Kunyari, sinabi ko sa iyo na, Doc Erwin, dapat orange na para mag-stand out. Pero vague yun. Alam mo kung bakit? Kasi pag nag-post ka sa Facebook, wala ka namang control kung saan banda sa newsfeed lalabas. Ang Facebook ay newsfeed. Baka sa top mo, green yung post. Diba? Tapos yung susunod na post sa'yo, violet naman. Tapos orange ka. So, I wouldn't recommend na parang walang sagot doon sa anong color combination kasi wala kang 100% control doon sa experience na ibibigay mo. So, yung ini-aim mo na sinasabi ko kanina na perception, hindi mo siya makokontrol. Pero you should look at Facebook as a white canvas. So, any color valid na gamitin or pwede siyang gamitin sa Facebook. Kaya hindi ako makapag-recommend na dapat ganitong set of colors lang. Kasi siya hindi mo naman control kung ano yung itsura ng Facebook feed. The moment na i-post mo yung post mo, diba? Tama ba yun, Mark? Diba? Pag nag-post ka, hindi mo alam sino yung kasunod mo tsaka sino susundan mo. So, mahirap yun.
Yeah. I agree with Robert. Pero siguro lalagyan natin ng konting para merong basis si Sir Erwin doon sa tinatanong niya. I will try to answer it then. Yes, I agree na blue kasi talaga yung general color ng Facebook. Blue and white, yun talaga yung color niya. Maybe dun sa particular post mo, kung gagawa ka ng poster, Sir Erwin, you can play around with those colors that would complement the blue and white color. Although, sabi nga ni Robert, pwedeng yung sa taas na post is iba yung color. But dun sa mismong post mo, kung yun lang talaga yung pag-uusapan natin, since given na blue and white yung color ng Facebook, pwede mong laruin yung shade of blue. And anyway, ang blue naman is a color of trust, diba? Especially dun sa mga tinuturo ni Sir Erwin. So kung gusto mong maniwala sila dun sa mga sa mga lessons na binibigay mo, you can play around with value ng blue. Yun, so iti-tone down mo lang. Iba-ibang shades ng blue, kumbaga. Blue tsaka white. Yun lang. Kumbaga, we're still following the color of Facebook na hindi ka naman nag-deviate doon sa color scheme ng Facebook. Pero at least maganda pa rin siyang tignan. Yun lang. So walang perfect answer. Tama si Robert. I agree with Robert. Walang perfect answer dun kasi meron siyang given na color talaga. But if you want, doon sa mismong post na gagawin mo lang exclusively, kung yun lang talaga yung titignan ng audience, just play around with blue and white din. Iba-ibang color value lang.
Yun. Pero kasi si Sir Erwin kasi nasa business field si Sir Erwin eh.
Mm.
Masasuggest ko din, pwede ko idagdag doon, Sir Erwin. Ako, when it comes to color, I always engage in a conversation with my clients. Mahalaga
Yeah.
kasi na ma-inform mo siya. Kasi minsan, may client na talagang stick siya sa mint green. Favorite color ko, mint green. May sentimental value sa akin ng mint green. Kaya ngayon, magtatayo ka ng business. Gusto ko, mint green yung logo ko. Tapos natanong ko kaya, ano business mo? Sabi niya, magtatayo ka ng veterinary clinic, di ba? So, hindi ko sasabihin sa kanyang, pangit ang mint green sa veterinary clinic. So, as a designer, I'm solving a problem for that client. Explain ko sa kanya na, ito yung gusto mong gawin, ito yung mga target audience mo. Imagine mo na may magkakatabing mga store, hindi nila malalaman na veterinary ka pag mint green yung yung main color design mo. So that's the conversation that I would usually have with clients pagdating sa kulay.
Tama.
Yun. Baka may iba pa kayong tanong, may bayad na pag tinanong nyo kami ni Mark. Lalo na ako, pag tinanong nyo ako, may bayad. Hindi, joke lang.
May tanong na kayo about sa color scheme, kung ano yung pwedeng mga... Tama yung question ni Sir Erwin, yung mga color schemes, kung ano nga bang pwedeng gamitin. Yan, combination. By the way, it's kapag nagde-design kayo, there is a very useful na website. Alam ko, marami dyan, pero one that is really stood out for me is yung gawa ng Adobe. Meron silang website kasi na color scheme na once I forgot what it is, pero once na nag-pick ka ng color, lahat ng complementary color dun sa color na napili mo is lalabas. Kung anong, tapos nakalagay dun yung hexadecimal code. Ano ba yung hexadecimal code? Kapag nagde-design kayo, blue is not just blue. Meron siyang certain color value dun sa spectrum of blue. So, pag tinype, yan. Yung nga pala yan, color.adobe.com. Thank you, Robert. Yan. So, lahat ng information about the blue, yung nagko-complement dyan, kasi iba-iba yan sa color wheel. Merong triadic, merong complementary, merong secondary. Lahat yan may kita nyo dyan sa website na sinend ni Robert. So, kapag nade-design kayo, just use it. Kung ano yung color scheme na babagay dyan, pili lang kayo, pwede nyo i-shuffle yan, and you can use it on your design.
Siguro pakita natin, no? Pwede naman tayo
Sige.
mag-share screen eh. Since nabanggit na natin, di ba? Teka lang. Sige, ako mag-share
Marami,
screen.
pero for me, yan yung pinakamaganda talaga. Yan, tsaka yung Colorpedia, yung ginagamit ko before.
Tama ba? Liitan ko yung aking window. Yan. Okay, so for example, Sir Erwin, ano ba ang iyong corporate color? Parang nakikita ko kay Sir Erwin, lagi siya nagda-dark blue eh. Subukan natin. So, ano ba? Yung sinasabi ni Mark na,
hexadecimal.
Yung sinasabi ni Mark na hexadecimal, ito yung value na yun. So, ang kulay kasi sa digital, it's RGB. Red, green, tsaka blue. So, ibig sabihin, pag mataas ang value pag red, mataas ang value ng red, ay gagawin natin ay FF0000. Okay? So, ang main color natin red. Yan ang red. RGB. Walang green, walang blue. So, ganun lang siya kadali. So, pag gusto mo na blue, walang red, walang green, meron lang blue. So, yan ang value ng RGB. Okay? So, makikita natin dyan, ito sinasabi ni Mark na iba't ibang klase ng harmony rule. No? So, usually, ako, when I work with client, lalagay ko rito ano yung pinaka-base color nila. Kunyari, let's say, pili tayo, no?
I-click na lang natin. Ayan.
Yan. Kunyari ito, base color to. For example lang, no? For whatever reason. Ito yung base color. Sa gitna yan eh. Makikita nyo yan, yung may arrow na yan. Ibig sabihin, dyan niya i-base yung color harmony mo. So, pwede kang pumili dito sa website na 'to. Gusto mo ba ng triad? So, 'pag triad na harmony, 'yan ang set of colors na options mo. Gusto mo ba ng complementary? O gusto mo ba ng double split? So, ito yung mga pinag-aaralan natin ng elementary. Kung naalala nyo, yung combination ng colors. So, libre ito. Okay? So, makikita nyo ngayon, pwede nyo na actually i-download. So, ito yung magiging inyong color patterns. Pero meron akong ah, ginagawa na gusto kong i-share. Subukan ko lang kung matandaan ko. And then, yun na lang. Practice ko, meron akong tinatawag na, di ba may window shopping, Mark? Alam mo yun, nag-window shopping ko ba?
Hindi,
Ang
pero alam ko
ginagawa
yan.
ko, color shopping ginagawa ko. Lalo na pag pumunta ako ng MBS. Okay, so sa MBS, wait lang nandito 'yun eh. Makahanap ako ng parang isang shop na sobrang ganda ng color palette niya. Okay. So dahil
Okay.
sobrang ganda ng
Pipicturean
color,
mo, no?
pipicturean ko 'yon.
Ah,
Tapos ngayon pag na-picturean ko na siya, tawag nito, papakita ko. Okay. Wait lang. May tanong yata si Sir Erwin. Sagutin mo muna Kita mo ba yung tanong ni Sir
hindi
Erwin?
ko makita. Pakipost mo.
Ayan Ayan. Ay, taga lang ayaw mag-show. Yan. Ikaw, Mark, sagutin mo yan. Alam mo yung
Sige,
kabisado
sige,
yun.
sige. Okay. So, Sir Erwin, kasi yung color harmony, kapag inimagine mo yung pinakita ni Robert kanina na color wheel, nagko-complement kasi siya meron iba-ibang way na nagko-complement siya. Okay? Kapag tinignan mo yung color wheel, yung magkabilang side nun always complements. Halimbawa, yung blue, ang opposite side nun is red. Or orange, sorry. Or orange. Nagko-complement siya. Isa yun sa way na makakita ka ng color scheme. Tapos, kapag ginawa mo naman yung triadic yung pinakita ni Robert, yung from the middle, papunta dun sa tatlong sides niya, opposite sides niya, harmony din siya. Yun yung tinatawag natin color harmony. Merong triadic, merong, ano yun, Robert? Yung pinakita ko.
Split
Yeah,
complementary.
split complementary, ayan. So, yung mga yun, actually, sa lahat sa amin, sa mga artists, sa mga designer, gumagamit talaga kami ng color wheel. Yung iba talaga, yung bumibili pa sila ng actual na color wheel sa mga art store. Kasi tinitignan namin kung ano yung mga color na nagko-complement. Yan. Pero ngayon, mas madali na yon kasi you can see it online. Sabi ko nga, you can always visit that website. Pili ka lang ng color mo, pili ka lang kung anong klaseng color harmony yung gusto mo, and magkakaroon ka na ng color scheme. Yung stretch na nakita mo kanina is color scheme. And you can apply it on your website and on your design. Ngayon, sabi mo, paano kaya apply sa Canva? Diba, gumagamit ka ng Canva, si Sir Erwin gumagamit ka ng Canva, paano ko i-apply yung design na nakita ko doon? Nakita mo yung sa baba, yung hexadecimal code na sinasabi ko kanina, yung tinype ni Robert na number, yung FF00 something something, yun yung hexadecimal code. If you want to get the exact value ng color, pupunta ka sa Canva, doon sa color, merong sa baba nun, merong hexadecimal code, itatype mo lang yon. Tapos, doon mo makikita yung exact value. Lahat ng color meron exact value. Kaya nung nagde-design ako for isa sa mga poster ng ALSE, kinuha ko yung exact value ng Ateneo logo. Kasi gusto ko makuha yung exact color value ng logo natin. So, I use that for my design. So, yun. Nasagot ba, Sir Erwin?
Yun. Naririnig mo ba ako, Mark?
Yep.
Nag-freeze yung screen ko
Nag-freeze yung screen mo.
Ito na. Wait. Yun. So, papakita ko lang to. Ito, pwede nyo itong gawin kahit hindi kayo designer. Natutuwa kayo dito. So, ginagawa ko to Saan ba yun? Ay, meron palang comment sa Ate Rachel. Sa Ate Rachel, natin yan. LSE natin sa United Arab Emirates. Hello ate.
Meron tayong UAE, ang
Sub-
galing.
Subscribe ka lang sa aming YouTube channel. Makikita mo lahat ng replays. Nandun to. Makikita mo. Okay, ito yon. Sinasabi ko kanina. Nakikita niyo yung window ko? Kita niyo, Mark? Kita
Yeah,
mo ba?
Xbox. Yeah.
Yan. Sa katulad niyan, nadaanan ko lang yung Xbox na yan. Ay, pinicturan ko. And then, I was able to come up with this color harmony. Nagaling doon kasi dumaan na ng branding process yung Xbox eh, 'di ba? So why would I
Tama.
reinvent the wheel? Ito naman may nakita akong isang store Hush Puppies. So, sobrang ganda ng design yan, yun sa mga mga design sa store. So ito yung sinasabi ko na nagko-color parang window shopping ko pero colors. So pinicture ko lang yan sa phone ko and then gumamit ako ng color picker. At nakita nyo, meron na akong magandang color sets. So
Yeah.
pumupunta ako sa mall, hindi para magubos ng pera, kundi para may kaisip ng pagkakitaan. Katulad nito, ito naman sa coffee bean. Okay, kita nyo, yan, coffee bean yan. Nandiyan lang ako, nagkakape ko sa coffee bean. Tapos nakita ko siya, ang ganda ng color pat, ang ganda ng color sets nito. So, pinicturean ko lang siya, pumunta ako ng Photoshop. So, nagkaroon na ako ng pwede kong gamitin sa kahit saang project. Kung makikita nyo, kung ikaw ay bagong designer, ang hirap niyan, no? Ang hirap makakame up ng ganyang, what do you call this? Ganyang combination ng colors. So, as a practice, masasuggest ko sa'yo, minsan nasa labas kayo, meron talagang kulay kayo na nakita na nagano sa inyo, very striking yung kulay, picturean nyo lang. Picturean nyo lang, labas yung phone nyo, picturean nyo. Pag dinala nyo yan sa Photoshop, makukuha nyo na ang inyong, what do you call this? Magkakaroon kayo ng color set. Okay. Yon, sa Ate Rachel, ang ating YouTube channel, makikita mo ang, what do you call this? Makikita mo ang replays ng lahat ng ating presentation. Si Carmen ay meron din siyang question. Colors have both positive and negative meanings. So when we design, shall we put focus more on the colors positive meaning? Mark, what do you think? Nakamute ka yata.
Depende yan, Carms. Kasi kung halimbawa ang poster mo is about grievances, halimbawa meron namatay, di ba? You have to think kung kailan mo gagamitin yung color. Sabi ko nga, ito nga dinidiscuss namin ni Robert, sabi ko, dapat meron tayong disclaimer sa paggamit ng colors. Kasi syempre meron tayong tinatawag na cultural differences. Colors are being used in different aspects in different cultures. So kung halimbawa, yun nga, halimbawa, ang poster mo is about elegance, about sophistication, you can use black, di ba? Walang problema doon sa pag-use ng black kung ganun kasi it connotes yung elegance, classiness, ganyan. But kung ang poster mo is about death, di ba? Alam mo 'yun, pwede kang gumamit ng black. Okay? But merong mga instances na hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung color purple, 'di ba? Pwede mo bang gamitin yung purple? Kumbaga, depende 'yun kung anong klaseng design yung ginagawa mo. So yes, merong positive, merong negative, but it all boils down kung saan mo siya and paano mo siya gagamitin.
Yan. Sagot na ni Mark. Masaya ka na, Carmen. Nasagot na ang iyong question. Pero at the end of the day, as a designer, ikaw yung, kasi kung it's your own project, ikaw yung magde-decide, ano bang kulay yung gusto kong gawin. Pero again, if it's a commission project, you need to enter into conversation with your client. Pag ikaw, alam mo na, intindihan mo na yung tamang kulay, i-explain mo sa kanya. Hindi mo agad sasabihin sa client na hindi dapat negative tayo, dapat positive tayo, hindi dapat neutral tayo. Dapat lagi may reasoning when you choose a color, pero not necessarily na positive lang kasi meron kang message na negative eh. Kunyari, let's say si Mark is also working on faith-related design. Minsan, let's say, hindi mo naman laging sasabihin na God is good, for example, di ba, Mark? I mean, yun, default sa mga Christian yun, God is good. Pero minsan, you want to send a message across na meron ka, let's say, na project or post or blog or video. Dun sa video mo, dinidiscuss mo doon na, let's say, merong faithful Christian, he was praying, then gumaling siya because of his faith, parang ganon. So, minsan, positive yung story, no? Pero pag titignan mo, kunyari video yun, dadali mo yun sa YouTube, ang purpose ko, gusto kong ma-share tong message na to, positive message, gusto kong ma-share sa maraming tao sa YouTube. Pero pag tinignan mo yung platform na YouTube, pumupunta yung mga tao doon, nag-search sila, ang isa-search nila doon, why is God not answering my prayer? No? Katulad, yun na yun, may ina-advise akong church ngayon sa Taiwan eh. Nagkaroon kami ng ganong conversation. Sabi ko, kung internal nyo yan na video, okay lang ha, panood yan ng mga churchmate nyo, di happy, di ba? Praise the Lord. Pero you are called to spread the word of God eh, di ba? So, pag pumunta ka ng YouTube, yung mga walang Jesus Christ sa heart nila, yung faith nila mahina, tatype nila, why is God not answering my prayer, di ba? Is God real? So, yun, pag ganun ang magiging title or ganun ang magiging hook ng iyong design element, gagamit ka ng negative colors. Pero yung pinaka-message ng video mo, positive siya. So, titimbangin mo yun. Yun ang isang practical application na most recently na for me na nagawa ko.
Sumagot ba si Sir Erwin kanina?
Hindi na. Yun na, sabi niya. Daw. Thanks daw. Hindi mo nakita yung mga comment? Wala ka ba sa ano? Wala ka ba sa browser?
Kala ko sabi niya, daw. Sige.
Hindi yan. Ayun. So, wrap up na tayo. Kung meron pa kayong mga lagi naman kami sa Facebook ni Mark. Pwede nyo aming itag or magtanong kayo sa amin. And
yung ano pa pala, i-plug na din natin kasi meron pa tayong, alam ko next week ba? Next week yung talk ko naman about typography. Ayan. So, Sining Panay din, same time din. I'm going to be discussing about typography. Actually, for me, typography is one of the most powerful tools na pwedeng gamitin ng isang designer. Kasi yun talaga, doon nagpo-fall yung word doon nagpo-fall yung message sa typography. And talagang nagme-make or break ang design pagdating sa typography. Of course, in complementary with other design assets. Pero yun talaga, isa sa mga pinaka-importante. So I suggest na kung meron kayong time next week, nood kayo.
Sige, lalagay ko yung domain natin. lsesgevents.com. No? Kapag kumunta kayo dyan sa website na yan, may kita nyo lahat na activity na related sa ating virtual exhibit. So yun nga, isa ito dun sa ating mga sessions, trainings and workshops. Nauna na last week, pinalabas natin yung The Lost Art of Film Photography. Available pa rin yung replay sa ating YouTube channel. And then, Mark is gonna talk about typography. And meron pa tayong, I think, 2 pa, tama Mark, or 3. Hindi ko alam kung matutuloy natin yung music. Pero may 2 pa tayo. So, meron tayong mga guests na mga writers naman. Team, kilala nila Ate Rachel yon from United Arab Emirates. Meron tayong in-invite na friend ko. Sila yung magdi-discuss naman pagdating naman sa writing. Yun yung ating pen is mightier than the sword. Tapos si Mark, he's gonna talk about typography. And I think meron pa ba akong topic? Meron pa ba akong isa, Mark?
Parang wala na.
Wala na yata, no? Or meron ba akong parang storytelling? Wala na, no?
Wala. Pero pwede ka magdagdag, up to you.
Tingnan natin kung may time pa tayo. Pero wala tayo busy eh. Yun. Looking at the website. So, tapos na natin yung form pattern tsaka color. Yun. The pen is mightier than the word pala. Yun yung ating
yung ba yung next?
mightier with the word, you know. The pen is mightier with the word. Meron, siguro yung music, tignan ko yung music kung pwedeng mag-cover nito. Tignan ko. Tignan natin kung paano as an expression of the soul. Sige, meron pa tayong 1, 2, 3 pa, no? So next week, abangan natin yung kay Mark. So maraming salamat sa mga nagstay.
Yep.
Salamat sa mga suporta sa alumni. And next week, stay tuned tayo sa topic ni Mark. And you can still watch the replay, guys. Pwede yung share sa ating YouTube channel, sa ating ALSE TV Singapore Facebook page. At meron tayong private group ng mga alumni lang. Why it's private, I still don't know. Pero, private group. Tapos, may Facebook page tayo. Okay. Any last word, Mark?
No, yun lang. Thank you lang sa lahat ng nakinig. Yes, syempre it's a Saturday afternoon and then you spend your time with us to learn something. I hope na meron kayong nakuha dun sa mga information na binigay namin ni Robert. Sana hindi walang kwenta yung mga binigay.
Hindi
but
na, wala
um,
rin yan.
uh, but thank you. If you have any other questions about it, about the discussion, just feel free to message us. Sabi ko nga, we are open to entertain your questions about it, especially pagdating sa branding and design kasi yun talaga yung target natin.
Yep.
And if you're interested din sa art, I know medyo mababa yung numbers sa mga tao na yon. I feel, especially pagdating sa contemporary, but you can link with me, then we can maybe talk about it. Kung meron kayong mga artworks na gusto nyo i-showcase, please do submit it sa ALSG.com. Tignan nyo doon.
Mm.
I-submit nyo doon yung mga artworks nyo. This is open to your relatives also, sa mga family members. And yeah, see you all next week.
Okay, thank you guys. We're signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.